If you just start with the awareness that you have an ego, and it's always going to feel way better to be right, and it's always going to feel way better to be complimented and told how great you are. If you can sort of just like hold that in your mind, and then also hold that it's always going to feel a little icky for someone to tell you how maybe you made a mistake or where you're coming up short. And that type of information is what you really need to get better. So if we can just like take a few steps back, we don't got to get specific right now. And if you can just be aware that like in general, I'm going to want to tend to look for information that feels good. And in general, it's not going to feel so good to get feedback. And feedback's really what I need. If you start from that place, then you might be able to take on this sort of growth mindset that we talk about.
Welcome to Black Belt Beauty Radio, a podcast fueled by a passion to support your journey in developing your most beautiful and optimal performance in life. Each episode is driven with the intention to elevate your mind. When we elevate our mind, we elevate our life. So get ready. It's time to rise. Hey everyone, welcome back to Black Belt Beauty Radio. I've got such a radical conversation to drop on all of you guys. I'm really excited to share this episode with you. But before I do, I want to give you a little background on this radical human to the best of my ability, and it ain't going to be easy. That is my guest, Logan Gelbrich. So Logan is by far one of the most curious humans I've ever had a conversation with. He took me on and is about to take you, on a cerebral adventure that was so epic for 2.5 hours, and it flew by. We could have kept going. And the reason for that is because, number one, he's such a compelling storyteller, so captivating when he speaks, and also because the messages and the subjects are so full of substance, you know, there's so much impact. Where when we were done with our conversation, I was left in such a state of mental elevation. My mind was so stimulated, elevated, and expanded. And it's honestly a place where I want my mind to be in as many moments as I possibly can get it in this life that I'm living. So before I tell you a little bit about what he does professionally and what, you know, a lot of people know him for in the world, I want to share a few fun notes that I wrote on him in preparation for this podcast and let you know that not only did he live up to each and every one of these words, but he took them to another level. So I wrote, Logan is a deep thinker, a compelling speaker, a legit contributor, a passionate reacher, a loving challenger, a dynamic creator, a grounded believer, an endless explorer, an authentic observer with a deep love for ... And that end piece is so important. I mean, honestly, if you're a lover of ... or you make me feel like you're a lover of ... you're someone I want to hang out with. And what it essentially means to me is that you're signed up in this life for infinite growth. And that is Logan. So now let me share with you what he does a bit professionally, what a lot of people know him for. So Logan's a coach. He's a movement coach. He's a leadership coach. He's an entrepreneur. He's the owner of the renowned performance gym, Deuce Gym in Los Angeles. He's a writer. He holds seminars around the world on leadership called Hold the Summit. And it's where he is able to coach others to reach, others being people, brands, organizations, to reach their peak expression. And here's the thing. I have no doubt that when you listen to this conversation and you listen to his mental framework, you're going to be in agreement with me that he is the absolute perfect person to be doing this. I can go on and on about what Logan does and who Logan is. And to be honest, I'm not going to get to the core where I'm going to feel satisfied. Like, oh, there, you got it. Now you really expressed who this man is. I mean, that's just the truth. And in saying that, I mean, that's a radical statement in of itself, and he lives up to it. So I'm going to stop talking now and I'm going to hit play and let you enjoy this epic, mental, elevating, cerebral adventure with my friend Logan Gelbrich. Enjoy. I've never held a microphone while I've been recording my podcast, so
Do you feel like an MC?
I feel like a dork.
Everybody from the 313.
It's really funny. I feel like I'm leveling up right now. This is very appropriate with you in my presence. Logan.
Yeah.
That was so fucking like I'm on a stage right.
You're like...
Dude.
You're acting like someone who holds a mic.
Yeah, exactly. That is so awkward for me. Okay. I'm going to get past it, though, because this is important. You're important. Thank you for being here.
You're important. Thank you. This podcast is important.
Hell yeah. It really is. Okay, so we're going to go all over the place because I'm really good at doing that.
I'm into that. I mean, my shoes are off. I'm pretending like I own this place.
Hell yeah. I like that. Be comfortable. Did you even wear shoes here?
I did.
Oh, yeah,
you yelled at me when I came in. Like, where'd you grow up? Take your shoes off. Like, Jesus.
Fucking
Sorry,
set
Mom.
the tone, right? That's amazing. Oh my God, my cackle's real in this shit. Okay, so, dude, don't look at my notes. This is really funny.
Okay.
So I read something that you had put out on the internet.
So it's true. That's what that means. Get out your pens, folks. This was on the internet.
It's about to get real. Okay, I want to read it, and hopefully I won't fuck it up because I'm really horrible. See, I keep talking. I'm horrible. Reading out loud on the podcast.
Yeah.
I keep messing it up. I've done it before.
And now you're holding a mic, so it's going to be like extra. So extra right now. Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm
this is
literally
the State of the
sweating
Union.
right now.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to go for it, okay?
You can do it.
I can, exactly.
Do you want advice before we start?
Please.
This will help you out. Okay, so I public speak for a living, and I would cry every time I had to public speak growing up. Like, it's terrifying. Not that this is like perfectly public speaking, but it's a version of it.
It is.
And the moment that I changed my relationship with speaking in front of people, literally, like, we're talking elementary school, like reciting poems, tears. I was a good student, couldn't figure this out. Middle school, presenting on some tears in front of the whole. High school, tears. And I think maybe once in college, very embarrassing. Okay, yeah, okay. So the moment that I changed my relationship with public speaking was I realized that I was not, in fact, giving the presidential State of the Union, and it wasn't that big of a deal. And I was just like, oh, I'm just going to be in the room with the people. And like, I'm going to be standing up at the front, but like, I'm there, they're there, we're there. Let's just talk about it. And that changed everything because I realized I was internalizing this thing, and I was like, you're holding a mic, so this like matters.
Oh, yeah.
And now you're like, ladies and gentlemen, right? And then you just start fucking it up, right? So
dude, it's
don't do that.
amazing how,
just chill.
Oh, thank you.
You're sitting on the floor in your living room.
My shoulders just dropped.
Easy day.
I know. We're at the beach.
Exactly.
Pointed like they can see it. Yeah, well, it's amazing how when you care, the pressure that comes with caring, right? It's so gnarly.
Yeah. That's a gift, gift and a curse, maybe.
I think so too. Caring. Yeah.
Baseball has a poor relationship with that. Maybe not poor, but it's unfortunate that it seems like the better you are, the less you care.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And so, yeah, because you're saying, I care a lot, so now I'm like nervous and I want to do the thing.
Oh, I thought you were saying specifically to baseball. I was like,
baseball, the sport.
Yeah.
Next time you go to a Dodger game and you like get your seats and then the hot dog and the thing.
Yeah.
By definition, you care more than everybody on the field about the outcome of that game.
Interesting.
Emotionally.
Yeah, totally.
And like, whatever, we can talk about performance later, but that's like an emotional thing that people at that level just don't participate in because it's too expensive. You want to ride that roller coaster, you can't.
Right.
You can't do that at a high level. Right.
That's important.
So in a weird way, whether it's real or not will depend on the person, but kind of this like structured apathy to the outcome is like really powerful. So that's why people, and I say unfortunately because I think we don't want this to be true, but like people who are like, I don't give a fuck, like kind of have some success sometimes,
Right.
because they're not married to the outcome,
Right.
right?
Desire can create.
They'll bomb hard, right? So they go out there and they just like send it, and you're like, that was dope, you know?
It's true.
But people who care so much that they get in their own way, that's a common one, right? That was like a big thing for me, you know, in the sport. So.
In the sport, in your whole life, in the sport. It
I
showed
think
up
in the
especially.
sport, I eventually was able to sort of learn what was behind the curtain of the mental skills part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, if I was on some side of the spectrum, it would be caring too much for sure. You know, to my own detriment.
Yeah.
So I think it's possible to screw that up on either side of the spectrum. But anyway.
No, how long ago was baseball?
My last season was 2009.
2009?
Yeah.
Okay. Does it feel like another life? Like
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Are you a completely expanded person? That's kind of a rhetorical question.
Expanded person. I've never called myself that before.
Really? Wow.
Thank you. It sounds
Yeah,
cool.
you're
I'll
welcome.
take. I would like to be
We're
that.
always expanding. If we're not expanding,
I
what
know
are
what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. I have a good relationship with the sport. I think I don't like miss it in that way. Coincidentally, yesterday, I found like my glove and like a couple of baseballs were hanging around at the gym, and I just had to like take it out of there. And there's some former players that are around playing catch or whatever, and I like put it on, and I immediately go back to this thing. It's just like this whole swagger thing happens, and I click back over, but I don't live in that space really at all.
But you can visit it with joy.
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment.
Or I'll like see it on TV and then kind of like go down nostalgia lane. But yeah, I'm not like the guy at the bar who's like, glory days. You know, that's a thing.
No, for sure. That's hard. I mean, for any athlete, I have a lot of pro athlete friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in any athlete's life, there's kind of an expiration date to at least one big chapter of themselves as an athlete, right, with their career. And it's not easy to navigate through transitions.
Totally.
Especially because I think a lot of times the athlete identifies their career as who they are. And that's fucking gnarly. I mean,
it's borderline unfortunate.
Yeah.
To the point where I don't want to say this like it sounds like I'm saying this from like some sort of like higher place or whatever, but I think it would be hard for a lot of people to understand the level at which that's true, to the point where I have like also friends, professional athlete friends, mostly in baseball, for example, that like I'm sad that their career isn't over yet.
That's powerful. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
And
not
they are too,
Yeah.
but you can't own that and be in that thing.
Right.
That's like cancer to your soul. So
Totally.
you have to put on the hat, show up to the thing, master your process, and the moment that you check out or remove yourself from that, like it's game over performance wise anyway. So
Right.
So it's hard to be in that space sometimes, you know.
It's interesting because you can kind of take that, and even if one is not an athlete, I think that that's just something that goes down in life, period. Like so many people associate what they do as being who they are, right?
Totally.
And it's so...
I mean, even beyond your career, which is like an easy common one, you know, if we're going to get into a meditative state, for example, like we aren't even the self that we recognize or that other people recognize, you know. We aren't our emotions. We aren't like Logan is a thing that maybe you call me and that I call myself and I whatever, but what is closer to the truth is if I could observe myself participating in the world, and from that perspective, identifying as an athlete in a specific sport is even more ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like that is insane. But you know, not like I would blame someone for thinking that. You know,
Well, I think it's
difficult.
It is, and you have to. So, well, let me say this before I was going to say, do you do that? Can you observe yourself, like in your day to day, in your actions, in your interactions?
Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, I do take on that perspective. And I think as you move through your own evolution, you can hold more space, but that comes with more responsibility.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I'm not like I don't live in like nirvana all day like some sort of like monk or whatever, but I can detach and observe, and that is a tool that I'm trying to be in practice of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Do you feel, because so I've been writing my whole life, and I just write for myself at this point, right? Yeah. Well, now I actually write for the world too, and I put things out on Instagram. I mean, it's definitely, for other people as well. But just meaning like I've never written a story or anything like that, right? But I only realized this recently in like the last couple of years. One of the greatest things that writing has given me is the ability to constantly be observing myself. Mm-hmm. Like I can think back to my younger days, and I can think back about how conscious I was was just like aware of everything with me, it's just.
And that's also a snapshot inside of a lens that you include now. Like you have those parts of you that have come with you till today, like September 18th, 2018, those, the older versions of you are here.
Right.
But I think what's interesting about reflecting on past writing or past perspectives is that then you weren't afforded the space that you can hold now. And so you can sort of see that difference. You're like, wow, like you're hearing your voice in a smaller frame, this is like the older me like thought this was everything,
Right.
And now just by definition, that's not everything. That's part of a bigger thing.
Exactly.
Right? And that's cool. Yeah, I am not as diligent as I'd like to be with like personal writing, like writing for myself, like journaling or whatever, reflective writing. But I do have lots of journals from key periods of my life. Like when I was playing, I have a journal that's kind of like fun to go back and see. And then the period right after I was done playing, I have several journals that, it's not quite every day, but it's just like often enough and acutely detailed enough to the day to where you can read it and like be inside of your older self. Moment. And it's gnarly. In a good way,
Do you think that when you were, are there standout reasons maybe if you were to think about it now, why in those particular moments you would turn to writing and be more consistent? Like right now you're not, right?
Right. Yeah, I think, I don't believe it's a cop-out to say that a lot of my life today is being recorded, this is a wonderful opportunity to speak who I am today, I guess. And I do a lot of writing in other sort of expressions now. Mm-hmm. But then I knew that something was happening. First of all, I knew that my playing career wouldn't last forever. And those stories and those moments, I didn't want to lose that.
Yeah.
But then after my career, I knew that I was like going through this insane just metamorphosis, right? And I wanted to sort of at least have some of that process with me, because I was pretty certain it would come up again, and it kind of is now, right? So a time where you sit down and you sort of introspect and you're like, who am I? What do I believe is true? Where are we going from here? Et cetera. And it's just a fun period to reflect on. Because for me, that was a big transition. I think a lot of people don't make that transition, right? You spend 20 years devoted to a sport or a certain craft or whatever, and then that's done. That can be really debilitating. That can mark the end of your progress for a lot of people. Totally. Like the thought of taking up a journey like that again is maybe exhausting, or they can't find another avenue to dump that type of work capacity into. And so I sort of went the other way and was just like, what does this look like going forward?
Wait, what do you mean by that?
I guess to just speak about it specifically,
please.
I was the type of player that wasn't very naturally gifted. I think like almost anyone would agree with you, scouts or teammates or whomever. I had some tools, obviously, to do the things that I did, but if I were to declare what allowed me to have the success that I had, it was just like a flat out, I would just do more than you. I would just will.
Outwork people.
I would just, because I'm not that, I don't really have any results or evidence that's going to tell me that if I don't just do more than you, that I'm going to like somehow accomplish any of this, and so that was my move. And while I had enough awareness during my playing years to think things like, when this is over with, whether I'm 25 or 35 or 40, or newsflash, like 23 or 4 or whatever, that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. There were things about that were very attractive to me, and almost didn't matter what I would be entrepreneurial in, but the idea, it was also modeled to me. So like the most inspiring, successful people I saw growing up, the people who affected the most people, the people who made the most money, the people who made the biggest impact on the world were this thing called an entrepreneur.
Right.
And they didn't graduate high school, and they made something out of nothing, and the world got to benefit from it. So I was like, that sounds hard, and that sounds like it would demand the most of me. I want to do that when I'm done. So when I finished playing baseball, I sat with myself and sort of, like I said, introspected, and I remember this ridiculous level of comfort. And this is a time in my life where technically I should be the most uncomfortable and scared.
Yeah.
Right? Because I got no plan. I got no other thing. I mean, I was a good student. I got like a degree or whatever. It's not like I was like it's not like I wasn't fit for the world or whatever, but like
what was
nothing
your degree
specific.
Just curious.
Business, and then a minor in leadership studies.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
we had a leadership school. That was really cool.
Makes sense.
And but I felt this like unbelievable calm in a point in my life where I had virtually no reason to be calm.
Yeah.
Right. Like it should have been gnarly and scary and like a freak out moment maybe.
Yeah.
And I felt unbelievable calm because I was very open to the idea of skill transfer, that if I did anything the way that I did that, we're good. Like, it doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
Because, and not to sound like egotistical, but I think anybody who's listening to this should just enroll themselves in the hardest thing they think possible, because whether you accomplish it or not, what you'll realize on the backside of that is just like, take a look around and see how few people are willing to do that.
Oh my gosh.
And that's who you're competing with, I guess, or that's who you're dealing with in the world. Right. So immediately you are unique, and you are willing to do something that others are not. And so I figured if I could dump the type of just hours, attention to detail work into anything, and because I didn't have a specific thing, I broke it into like 3 categories. It was like a physical one, an intellectual one, and a spiritual one. And I was like, if I just like take all these hours and this work ethic and just like spread it across these 3 things, I was like, I want to meet that dude, whoever that is. And that I'm very interested in who that person is. And so I just started doing that. And it's kind of in my opinion, has worked out in a way that serves me.
Yeah. Well, so there's so many things to say. I'm going to be focused about that. I'm going to try right now.
That was the realest.
Damn, there are so many kids.
I want to be focused. Psych.
Exactly. I have so many pins and things you said, but I'm just going to, you're a high performance coach, right? Is that what you,
I guess,
how do you introduce yourself?
I don't know.
Dude,
Hi,
I love
Logan.
this. Who are you?
I don't know. Who am I?
Who are you?
Who are you?
Let me tell you something. I want to ask you that, actually. That is a question that I ask myself in so many moments every day. Roxy, who are you right now?
Yeah, totally.
Who the fuck are you?
Totally.
And it means so many different things, right? In so many different moments. When I'm training and it's hard,
Yeah.
I love asking myself that question, like, who are you? And so when you just said right now, you know, who's that guy? That's the guy that I want to meet. So in the things that I envision for my life, at least in the next 5 years, right? I don't know about after that, we'll see. But things that I desire. It's one part those things, but I think at this point I really want to say that it's actually a bigger part who I need to be experiencing these things. And I really think that that's like, I'm coming to, I don't want to say conclusion because fuck that, comma, dot. But you know what I mean?
Totally.
But it's like, is this really all about just constant discovery of self? And that's fine if it is. If it's like your relationships, your career, I mean, everything that you engage with, like, does it all boil down to, or maybe you have to be awake to actually even be thinking this or realize this, but like, is that what it comes down to? It's totally fine if it is.
I think that we have a certain duty to evolve, and that's something that maybe I'm making a judgment about, and maybe that's my opinion, but I believe our own biology has shown that we have one job here,
Right.
and that is to move the needle, right? And this is shifting. This is a unique time to be alive. What a time to be alive. It's a unique time to be alive because survival of the fittest, so to speak, has been, for much of our existence, if you want to just look at the sort of length of humanity, most of that time has been a very physical evolution of survival of the fittest. We had to figure out like how to, we are not the most capable creatures on the planet, right? Like there's a bunch of animals that would beat the living hell out of us, right? Okay. So we had to evolve in a way to master our domain enough and collaborate enough to survive. And we've done that so far. And now, not to be like super maybe shitty, it's really easy to survive.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's not hard to be born, live long enough to have kids. That's a wrap.
Right.
You don't need to be capable. You don't need to be smart. Lord knows you don't need to be smart. Okay. You don't need to necessarily contribute anything. You don't even necessarily need to be better. You can just get worse every day of your life and still have kids. Right?
Such an early way to put it, and it's so
it's
true.
It's so real.
It's so fucking
real.
real.
So evolution in terms of survival of the fittest and that mechanism in a lot of ways is broken, right? The feedback loop is there. It's not necessarily rewarding the fittest.
Right.
Okay. Now, that seems like we're good and like we're straight. But our evolution now is conscious. The growing complexity of the world that we live in, I think we can all agree that, especially when you look in reverse, that the world that we live in is growing in complexity. This is a natural evolution. Is outpacing the complexity of most of our minds, our consciousness. And in that way, not my words, but Robert Keegan's words, in many ways we are in over our heads, meaning the complexity of the world is greater than the complexity of our ability to solve problems.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
totally.
So like, what are our problems? We have this like climate change thing, artificial intelligence. We're just talking about the Elon Musk thing. Borderless war. It's no longer like guys in the red jackets shoot the guys in the blue jackets. It's like who versus who. Right. This is more complex, and it's growing more complex by the day. Well, our complexity in terms of the space that we can hold consciously is in many ways too simple for the world that we're living in. And depending on who you're sort of reading or what research is sort of looking into, these stages have different names and different colors or whatever. But generally speaking, there's like 4, 5, or 6 stages where people draw certain lines and say like, hey, this is a stage, and then you evolve to this next thing, whatever. Yeah. Most humans are today enrolled in a level of consciousness that is a socialized mind, meaning where I prescribe value, where I identify, where I seek meaning, is given to me by socially reinforced structures. Like, I'm a Christian, Texan, Republican athlete who likes fast cars and my favorite color is blue. That sums you up. It'll teach you what to wear. It'll teach you what to say. It'll teach you who to vote for, what to reshare on Facebook, etc., what music to listen to, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Okay. And that's outdated as fuck, like based on the world that we are living in. The world that we are living in is more complex than blue versus red. Unfortunately, it's much easier if life was that simple and you could just have your things decided for you in a very black and white way. Well, we evolve in our complexity when we can push through, and sort of the framework that I subscribe to mostly, Keegan's, would call the next stage this self-authoring stage, which is like, maybe you get to a certain age and you're like, yeah, I went to church every Sunday, but like, I'm like only down with some of that. And they're like, there's this other thing that I like, and like maybe, yeah, like I was an athlete, but I'm not anymore. And then we start to do these things where we break our frame. Like I'm not confined by these social allegiances I have. Like, yes, I was an athlete. I grew up Christian. I grew up in Texas, but I moved to Colorado. Like, I'm not down with someone or whatever. You know what I mean?
I like pink now.
Yeah,
Shit.
You've evolved. You're more complex. And then so now you're this self-authoring person. And this framework works like it sounds. Like, you hold the pen to your existence. You get to say, I'm Logan, let me tell you about Logan. And he has a certain code, and it's my custom code. It can't be confined by the Constitution or the Bible or whatever. It's maybe it includes some of that, but it is more. And that's how evolution works, is we transcend and include our previous thing. Just like you here today include all your past journals. You read that, that's still part of you, but it's not all of you. No. Right? And this is a wonderful place to be, because now you get to say what you want to say. Right? And you get to like push forth with your thing. This isn't the final step though, because this self-authoring thing has some limitations as well. Mind you, almost no one is in this stage. Okay. And the problem with this level of conscious development is that you begin to send and receive information in the world that supports your little code, the Logan code. Right. Yeah. So very few people are really looking for how they might be wrong. Most people that have a dogma, that have a thing, they have a podcast, no offense, I don't know what I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or have a book, or have a seminar, or have a thing that they're teaching. It doesn't really pay all that much to take on information that would make you wrong. So now we become rigid, and we have these blind spots, and we all know we have them. But if you're in this self-authoring stage, yeah, you get to hold a pen and write your own thing, but maybe you kind of like don't reshare that shit that proves your thing wrong, right? And maybe you don't read the book that is all about the opposite of what you're about. And now we build a perfectly rigid fence around who you can be. And that's one next level. And the last level that we kind of know about is this self-transforming mind. And this is a place where we can do what we said earlier, which is observe yourself. Oh, isn't that cute? That's Logan with his little Logan code. He believes these things because we can see where he's been before and what he thinks is true, and this is cute, right? And he lives in a world with other people with their own views, and they all interact with each other, and that's a little system. And then there they are down there in Southern California, you know, like doing beachy things or whatever, right? And there are these systems all over our world.
Right.
And if you can live there, then you open yourself up to unlimited growth, because people in this space are humble enough and open enough to the truth to find out how they might be wrong about their perspective. And that's infinite growth, because you go around not trying to find out and prove and reassure how you might be right.
Right. You're not looking. Yeah, it's confirmation.
You're interested in ultimate truth. And almost no one's playing that game.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the game we need to be playing, because back in the day it was like, hey, we need fire, we need 2 arms, we need to know how to make spears and shit because these whatever woolly mammoths are coming. Well, we're straight. You could be a moron, have kids, procreate, and this whole thing goes right up until it doesn't. And our planet doesn't work anymore, or we blow ourselves up with nuclear whatever, or like AI, the whole thing, right? And so the next level of like our responsibility, which is like I think why I just started this thing where I haven't stopped talking for 10 minutes.
I fucking love it. Please.
Is a responsibility to evolve. Because if not, it's the same story that it's been for the last million years, where it's a wrap if we don't evolve.
No, I don't know why I start with no to say yes. It's so I so feel in alignment with that. It's really fucking powerful. I want to ask you, like, how do you? What do you? There's so many ways I can go right now. How did you arrive to this? I mean, that's a fucking annoying question, because I'm sure it's not an easy answer. I mean, I feel like it might not be, but like, this is some deep thinking. This is being wide awake. This is being fucking honest.
Well, I am being honest.
But I mean, like, within yourself, like, to be awake, you have to be honest. To know how to really grow, period, you can't fucking, you gotta be honest.
Yeah.
You're not growing if you're not honest. Yeah. I know that's kind of that's a little separate. It's a little different from whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. If you guys don't, I'm sorry. I don't.
Catch up. Y'all are in over your heads over there.
What I want to know is, like, this is a very powerful idea. I want to say it feels very true to me. How did you get here? How did you get to that place?
I don't know. To not completely dodge your question,
I know it's an annoying one.
No, it's good.
It might not be a good one.
I'm here because I specifically went for this lane of pursuit in baseball, and I reckon that game taught me that if you live and die by performance, so to speak, you learn best practices straight up.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I told you, like, at the end of the day, it's like you or the other chick. At the end of the week, may the best woman win. Yeah. You would learn very quickly. You'd Google some shit.
Yeah, how to figure out how to fucking
the best way to win the thing.
Yeah.
Okay? And I just learned that my opinion aside, how I felt about it aside, my emotions aside, the best way to develop was to find out what my weaknesses were and to like live there and grow the thing. Doesn't necessarily feel good, but that's how we're going to get results. So like, let's roll. And that's like kind of silly because baseball is just a game and that's kind of over now. But as it turns out, that exploration of your edges where you start to act funny, where you start to fuck up,
right,
is the path, is sort of the instruction manual to how you improve, how you get better. And I feel such a deep responsibility to maximize my time here. Like I feel like very lucky to like be here.
Yeah.
And I can't, like, I appreciate the question and I know what you mean, but I also kind of straight up, I can't wrap my head around pretending there's something else more important. Like there's a bunch of fucking people right now that are like doing laundry and they like think that that's important.
Right.
Like,
right.
No, I mean, you know what I mean? Like we got these bills, like
yeah,
we're only here so long.
Right.
Like let's plug into maybe why you're here, what you're capable of, and sort of live there. And if you do that in a general sense, I know this is like a very general way to answer your question, but that's literally why I'm there in a general sense. It's like how to move the needle and evolve myself in a specific way. I'm just surrounded literally by the best people, like over and over and over again in my life. The world's best people have like fallen out of the sky and like hit me in the lap. I'm like, what? Who are you? And then like literally over and over and over again. I've said this before in a podcast. I used to think in elementary school. So in my elementary school, I went to this like public elementary school up the road here where every grade had 2 teachers. And I remember being in like 5th grade and being like, I had the dopest first grade teacher. And then in 2nd grade, I got the best one. And then like Mrs. Brown is way better than Mrs. Like, so I was just like, dude, I won. Like every time I won.
Yeah.
And then baseball, same thing, just pure gems. And then strength coaches and then, mental skills coaches and professors and the whole thing. And so I feel like very fortunate to extract a lot from the people that are around me. And then now I just kind of curate that. I hang out with people that are killers and they push me and I'm interested in that. And, specifically all the things that we just talked about, that maybe I'll hear people just turn the podcast off.
No.
And, they fell asleep or something. I have a coach who was a professor of mine, is a great friend. We've been friends for a decade, Dr. Miller, who has pushed my edges in terms of this consciousness story, right? And so I think a lot of people in my profession have coaches who program them front squats and sled pushes, but my coach programs me books and things, and
that's amazing.
And so I'm highly interested in operating at the fringes of capacity, and so it's the people around me is the shortest way to say it. Sorry, I just realized that like I'm just sabotaging this whole podcast.
You are not.
Just, like,
no. Hold on. Let me clear. Let me. You're not sabotaging.
I say nothing all day long, and then I'm on a podcast.
I fucking love it. I love it. Well, no, people who listen to this podcast know I hang out in the deep end anyway. So this is a very appropriate conversation for me to be having. And the thing is like, you're a high performer in life. Do you consider yourself a high performer?
How do I answer that? Yes, internally. Often it doesn't pay, I find, to speak what I think about myself externally.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, whatever. That's just my own opinion.
No, I just called you out and just...
No, that's fine. I have no... I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, but you can...
Good.
I mean... Well, listen, I'll put it on me. Ask me. Am I a high performer?
Are you a high performer?
I'm a fucking high performer.
That's right. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And I'm not... I don't really buy into this. It's like I need to be humble. No,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I show up every day.
Yeah.
I see who I am every day in every aspect of my life. Like I fucking see it.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of it. I own it. Doesn't mean I'm the best. It doesn't mean that there's areas where I could be better or I mean, that has nothing to do with it. It's more about my integrity.
Yeah.
My honesty, my truth,
Yeah.
am I being authentic? And am I really giving it my best? So like every night when I go to bed, I ask, it's like an honest question. I don't ask myself every night, but just
do ask myself this question, like, could you do better?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this moment right now, no, I think I've given it my fucking best in all these areas of my life where I really want to be, you know, moving the needle forward, pushing myself. So I can say, yeah, I feel like a high performer. I believe that I am. So
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know where I was going with that,
Totally.
right? Which is like, yeah, I feel very fortunate that I have felt free of a lot of things that I think people struggle with.
Yeah.
That prevents them from going out and doing things or whatever. And you know, around folks like you, I think is very appropriate and truthful to speak on that. You know, I think just sometimes people act funny. You know, like to be honest, I've said this before. I've never thought there was something that I couldn't do, like, ever. You know.
Have you ever thought about that?
In what way?
Have you ever thought about that you've never thought?
Yeah, I don't know why I have that, and I feel very blessed for it.
Yeah.
Every day. I don't think I was able to choose that. I mean, I'm not I live on like the nurture camp and not the nature camp.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
I don't think it really pays to, even if it's true, I don't think it really pays to take on the perspective that we are born a certain way.
Yeah.
Or born with a certain destiny or whatever. Right. I don't think it pays to believe in determinism. But yeah, I internally, if I want to be president, I'll be president. The only reason why I'm not an astronaut is I don't want to be one. I don't, whatever it is, we're good. Is how I operate generally.
That's fucking awesome. Yeah, that is. I feel like it's a gift. Okay, well, okay, all right. I'm really gonna try and focus now. Let's go back. But we're going back to go for it.
You heckle your own self. I'm gonna focus now.
Totally.
No, you ain't. Okay, it's time to focus.
You should
ain't focusing on shit.
You should see me when I'm by myself.
So good.
Oh fuck, it's amazing. Okay, so you leave baseball. You're.
It's 1985.
I'm so excited right now.
So good.
You leave baseball, and one of the things that you said that was so fucking awesome is you said, like, being an entrepreneur, whatever it was going to be, like, this is something that would demand the most out of you. I mean, that in of itself is so special to kind of pin, because the fact that you wanted to engage in whatever it was that was going to demand the most out of you, and that's where a lot of people shy away. Like, it's like you're willing to go down what potentially could be a very, and most likely, uncomfortable path, right?
Yeah.
And I think that more often than not, there's a backing off to discomfort, which is so unfortunate, because fuck, that's where you grow. That's where everything happens, right?
Yeah, I think, and I would like to reiterate that perspective is not out of some like mercenary, like noble cause.
Right.
Straight up, I'm just more useful to myself and my community and my family if I'm in that environment.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
Like, I just spoke to this entrepreneur class at SMC last week, and what was the question? One of the girls in class said, like, what's a piece of advice that you have for someone who's interested in being an entrepreneur or starting a business? And I said, find the thing that you can, or like I just said, find the thing that would demand the most out of you. Mm-hmm. Because just in a very objective, utilitarian way, I am at a great advantage because I am currently in an environment where I can just work harder than all y'all. Mm-hmm. Let's go. Mm-hmm. You know, I can just work longer, better, harder, forever doing this thing. Now, if I chose another environment, this is part of like what I get into in like the book is like the example I use.
Go Right. That's your book, right?
Yeah,
is like talking about. Okay.
Yeah, is like Dave Grohl. Okay, is like a high performer musician who put in his whatever hours of deliberate practice to mastery as a drummer and a bunch of other instruments. He becomes the drummer of Nirvana. Mm-hmm. And I hesitate to use like sexy examples like this because people could always say like, that's like a 1 in a billion chance. Like it's the music industry. You never know who's going to pop off. Dave Grohl's a good example because not only was he the drummer of Nirvana, which was like, I think people who are into music would agree at the time, like the most prolific rock band of its time.
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
First concert ever.
Really? Shut
Pearl
up.
Jam opened up for Nirvana, and Nirvana opened up for Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm bragging right now.
God.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I know. Don't you want to touch my hand?
Yes. Have you
Pearl
read
Jam,
Scar
Nirvana.
Tissue?
Was that?
Have you read Scar Tissue?
No.
Anthony Kiedis' book?
Really?
Yeah,
No, I haven't.
Read it. Anyway.
I will.
So
Dave Grohl.
you could say that dude just got lucky. A million drummers. He right place, right time, whatever. He sort of trumps that because we all know what happens after Kurt Cobain dies. Dave Grohl is in this mourning phase, whatever. Part of his, dealing with this suffering is he gets back in the studio and Foo Fighters happens. Well, Foo Fighters, I don't know if people know that story, is literally Dave Grohl goes into the studio, lays down the drums for whatever it is, 13 tracks, lays down the bass for 13 tracks, lays down the guitar for 13 tracks. There's one song with one guest appearance on guitar. Everything else is Dave Grohl. And then he lays down the lyrics for all 13 tracks, takes it to a friend. What do you think about this? I think it's pretty good. Shop it out. Platinum album. Doesn't have a band.
I didn't know that. That's fucking badass.
Fucking badass.
Incredible.
Not a fluke. I'm back, motherfuckers. I
Right.
got skills.
Yeah.
Dave Grohl chose an environment to be in that he can just produce more, better, deeper, quality, impactful work than he could, I would bet, doing anything else. Okay, so you take that same guy, whether you're a Dave Grohl fan or not. I'm mostly a Dave Grohl fan just because of the story I just told you.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yo, I'm sure he's a hard worker and a great guy or whatever. Let's take homeboy down here to Source Cafe or Bank of America or anywhere else and apply for a job, get the job. Like, how much overtime can he do? How hard, like, could he possibly contribute the level of quality in any other of those things that he does in music? And the rhetorical question is like, there's no way.
Right.
There's no way. And he reaps the benefit of that. And because I just told a story about some stranger that I've never met before, obviously I benefit from his contribution to the world.
Right.
Imagine that dude cashing checks right now at Bank of America. How sad is that?
Yeah.
That makes me want to cry right now. And there's people doing that. Most people are doing that.
Most people are doing that.
Oh my God.
No, it's so true, dude. I want to, and this is not judging. I literally just, it was so impacting when I experienced it today. But going to whatever, I won't say, it's like a store. And, the door opens and there's a beep. And I walk in and the person at the register says, welcome to da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Right? Go get my thing. I'm walking out.
Yeah.
The beep goes on. Beep goes on. Guy goes, welcome to...
No.
Logan!
No.
Logan! I hurt inside in that moment.
You just rolled a grenade in there, didn't you? And you walked away. Didn't look back. Slow motion.
I was like, I literally was like, fuck, are you serious? And here's the interesting part. Like, if we're going to just, let's go there, right? It's like, on the one hand, you can say, fuck, this person who is gifted this blink of an eye moment to be alive is just like on autopilot. So deep that like he doesn't even know if coming or going. It's just like, and that's not just in the store. I'm sure that's you know, or maybe not. Maybe the person's super happy and that's like the simple life and it's comfortable. And I don't know. But the point is like, I just love that Dave Grohl story. I love why you even are affected by that story. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's important.
And choose like so you brought up, let's continue to go for it. You brought up, well, maybe they're happy.
Right.
Maybe they are, but I think like any angle that you choose to view that at, like maybe it's not fame, maybe it's not money, maybe some people don't need to work a lot, and then it's this other like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like what you contribute to yourself and to the world.
Yes.
And straight up, what you experience today is a low level expression of that person. I believe in that person more than that.
Right.
You know?
Love that.
And there's a lot of folks, unfortunately, and it's because we're scared. Everyone's scared.
Yeah.
And that seems less scary maybe than trying something hard and failing. And I empathize with that hard. But anybody who's done anything hard or at a high level in anything realizes that it's all scary everywhere, and there's uncertainty everywhere.
Yes.
Yo, that store is going to be a wrap one day, and guess what? Hi, welcome to whatever is replaceable as fuck.
Right.
Right? Talk about AI. I can get a program to do that, bro.
Right.
Beep goes off, say welcome to the fucking thing. Like that is an unremarkable expression.
Yeah. Unremarkable expression.
You know? And
Fuck
is right. Now I'm pissed because you went to the store.
Dude, and it's so funny that happened before I was going to have a podcast with you. I knew you would actually, I didn't know if I'd actually tell you, but I knew that it would do something to you.
Yeah,
too.
you knew.
I just fucking knew.
I know how to piss this dude off.
Well, you know what's so cool about what you say? It's like contributing. So maybe this is the best way for me to try and get at what I want to say. So in all the things that I'm reaching for in my life, the intangibles, even the tangibles, like everything, right? Yes, I get to benefit from it. There's that. But really, it's not just me. So like if we were to take my lifestyle, which, you know, I'm an athlete by way of life. So training is not, it's, you know, it's an everyday thing. Movement is an everyday thing, right? My diet, all of that it's at a very high standard. It's a very high level. One that serves me in a way where I get to really feel like I'm living from an optimal state. Like I feel good on a day-to-day basis, right? And that feeling good allows me to just express myself in a way that I want to be expressing myself, right? So, example, when I go to Whole Foods to buy my food, and the person asks me, you know, and they're kind of on autopilot sometimes, like, hey, how are you? I stop, I'm present, I feel good. I'm like, I'm right fucking here with you. I'm great, how are you? I mean, that to me that's important, right?
Yeah.
And that's just like one example of how me feeling good, the things that I do in my life, the things that I'm reaching for, all of it, every day, is not just for me. It's because we're conduits of energy. Everything affects everything, you know, and to not realize that responsibility is,
it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that given the choice that we would choose to be detrimental to ourselves and to others. I think as I say that sentence, everybody is like, maybe like, it's easy to get behind that. You nod, you're like, yeah, I agree. Like, that's a bummer. But if you look at our behavior, we do that over and we do that everywhere.
Right.
That's like, it's like rare to not do that.
Right.
And it will never likely, I don't want to like make this deterministic, but it will likely never be popular to do the harder of two things. And that is sort of the crux of being in the real world.
So wait, okay, I want to. So who are you really? Like,
I don't even know, man.
Who are you really?
Yeah.
Okay, no, you're a coach. You speak around the world. You give seminars, right? Hold the standard. Is that?
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I don't want to be like I'm above titles or whatever,
No.
but like, yeah. So I'm a movement coach. Like I teach strength and conditioning. I guess if I had a specialty, it would be in the sport of strongman. So that's like, old school, like ESPN2, sponsored by Metrics, Saturday morning, 10 a.m.
Okay.
The stones, the Atlas stones and the log and the kegs or whatever. So if I had a specialty, it'd be that. I'm a gym owner, so I own 3 gyms here in LA under the Deuce brand, and we are a strength and conditioning gym where people come to get coached. We're sort of like a school of fitness in that way. And the seminars that I teach are in sort of the world of leadership and organizational culture, and the brand or the company Deuce is like a case study for ideas that aren't like fitness ideas. They're like everything ideas.
Yeah.
And I'm highly interested in that because it's through entrepreneurship that I think we can drive some of the development that we talked about before. What we know about the highest level operating groups, teams, organizations is that most of them have at least 2 bottom lines, right? Or 2 jobs, we'll say. One is the thing that they do. So if you were a hair salon, the thing that you would do is hair. And then there's like another job, which is development, meaning there's some part of this hair salon that would develop the craft of that thing and develop other people to do that thing. And so in a very superficial way, we slang fitness. We coach them up.
Yeah.
Also, we are a place of development for leaders and coaches. It's a very self-serving goal, but high-performance teams do this. They place a lot of value on development. It's sort of insurance against complacency, stagnation. It sort of informs how you can not just win today, but you can win tomorrow, and so on and so forth. And so over the years, the Deuce has become, this brand that represents lots of layers of things, a lifestyle maybe, or, training and a bunch of different specific things from like gymnastics to powerlifting to whatever suits you. But we develop coaches. And so that's where the most of my work is now, is less in the gym with the movement side, and it's coaching other coaches. And so we have that happens in person here in Venice and also online. And, more than 1,000 coaches around the world have enrolled themselves in something that we have to teach, and
It's awesome.
it's cool.
Yeah.
The seminar is really exciting because that is where I get to, that's like my edge, right? That's where I get to grow, and
That's hold
the Standard Summit. Yeah. And so this is a room that is still mostly filled with gym owners and entrepreneurs and leaders that have some sort of interest in fitness, but I sort of self-evaluate how well I'm doing my job based on how many people in that room are not gym owners and fitness people, and it's evolving in the ways that I would like. And that's because the things that I have to say in that seminar completely transcend, like, we're not talking about front squats, y'all. You know what I mean? That's not what this is.
No.
Yeah. No one cares. Yeah. No. Or I don't care. People care. I don't give a shit. And so, it's important work, I think. We are inside of the information age, as we know, and we are told all the time. And this wouldn't be the first place that you've heard this, but we know that in your iPhone is every thought that's ever been thought. All the information is there.
Right.
And so the next sort of wave of this after the information age is like, yo, that's a given. We have it all. Google that shit. Is, well, what do we do with it? And this goes back to what I said earlier. We're in over our heads. You are not capable. You are not yet the person you need to be to solve the problems that you have.
Right.
And if it was for a lack of information, then all the fucking books you read that didn't do shit would have done it. Right? Like, I talk about the same examples all the time, but like, you know, how many people in this country need to lose 25 pounds that know all the diets?
Right.
Bro, it's not about the information.
Right.
And so we need to move the needle on that. Well, that's what excites me about the summit, is because it's technical, meaning there is information in there. Like if you just like close your ears and close your eyes, you would leave on the second day with a bunch of information that you could make your business better or whatever. Cool. There's a million weird people on Facebook slinging that. But the real value, in my opinion, is this adaptive change, adaptive leadership conversation. And technical leadership means I'm leading you by giving you information. This is one way to do an armbar.
Right.
We need that shit.
Right.
We need all that.
Right.
Go get it. But if at some point the problems that are getting in your way are not solved with more information, then it is an adaptive challenge, meaning you need to become a different you. Fuck.
I'm like, you're speaking to my heart right now, Logan.
Yeah. And we are blowing it because how we're trying to solve these adaptive problems is like we're trying to Google it more. And fucking stop.
Just stop.
Just stop. No, keto, for sure. Keto. Bro.
Oh my God.
Maybe it's not keto.
Wow.
Maybe it's you self-sabotage. Maybe it doesn't matter what the thing is.
Right.
Right? Okay, so how do we talk about the other thing? Right? Well, if you understand how it works, how adaptation works, then you can learn and apply to yourself and teach other people, put other people in environments with the mechanics and the gears that would help someone evolve to be able to solve adaptive challenges. And if you can do that, I'm not going to say like you're chilling, but you're
in a good place.
You can navigate your life indefinitely towards growth.
Right. That's fucking badass. When did you come? Was this your thing that you just decided? You're like, I need to do this. I need to create this? And how long have you been having these summits?
So the summits have been a couple years. The first one was in Spain in like...
It's not a bad place for a fucking summit.
Yeah.
Were you in Barcelona? Where were you?
I'm bougie as hell with my summits. I like... We're going to go to all the cool places.
Strategy.
People are like, when are you coming to like Fort Lauderdale? I'm like, yo, no disrespect, never. I'm just not. You know? And
shit.
Yeah, I'm getting on a plane, you get on a plane. Sorry, that was a tangent.
No.
So, yeah, it's like, it's the natural evolution to my own thing. So, yes, it's helping people. And yes, people go there and they pay money and they sit down and they learn a thing, and that's cool. But it's really for me, let's be honest, right? Like, I am challenged. I'm a different person now. I get to have that, right?
Right.
And if we just do the quick backstory on like my own development and say strength and conditioning, finished being an athlete, then I become a strength athlete, fitness athlete. Sounds so dumb. Oh god, fucking people, man. I hate the fitness.
So
the fitness is hilarious.
It is funny.
It's hilarious. Anyway, so I do that thing, and then I become a coach because that's where I want to express my entrepreneurial thing. And then at a certain point, not that you can't get better forever at that. Of course you can, just like you can as an athlete. But what would push my edges the most is, hey, could I understand coaching on enough of a level to coach another person to coach? That's pretty gnarly. That's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
So then we, in a sort of self-serving way, realized that the best teams and organizations in the world develop people at a high level. We need to do that. So now I'm responsible for developing other coaches. Well, that thing grows to the point where the next iteration is, well, could I coach another coach to coach other coaches?
Yeah.
Is everybody asleep yet? Okay. And it's a thing, right? And so could I understand leadership on a level to not just like be that, but could I teach it to someone else? And then now so that's the summit.
I mean, that's a different level of understanding.
Yeah,
when you're
I think
teaching.
we all know. Yeah, we all
Right.
know that like there's a certain level of like I'm the doer, and then could I understand something well enough to teach it to someone else?
I just think about jujitsu,
Yes.
and that's gnarly.
Yo, I cannot teach anyone in jiu-jitsu.
But
I'll be over here. Tap tap, tap tap,
tap tap.
tap tap.
Oh man, I know. How are you doing? Good.
I'm great. Yeah.
No,
So
I'm
it was a semi selfish evolution of my own thing. It's like the hardest thing I think about doing.
Okay, well, I'm glad you said that word because I heard you somewhere
On the internet.
on
Also
the
true.
internet. It was so good, but I loved it because this word "selfish" is really interesting to me. I want. Can I just throw it at you and
Do it.
there, selfish. Go. What does that mean to you? Like what you said something about. It's almost like people. This is a disservice, right? When you're being selfish, but it really.
Yeah.
It's like the fucking best thing that you. Right.
So when I talk about this, I like to throw a disclaimer in the beginning, which is that at least some percentage of this issue we're about to discuss is semantics of language.
Sure.
So like language, like there are codes that mean other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how that works. Okay. So I'm not talking about the semantics of language because after I'm done talking, someone will say like, yeah, but like, and I'm going to be like, fucking not that, right? Okay.
Right. You're missing it.
So the connotation that most people have with the word or the term selfish is negative.
Mm-hmm.
Now, self-sacrifice generally has a universally positive connotation.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done this before where I ask people like, who is the best example you know of in self-sacrifice? And like the most common answer I get is Mother Teresa. You can say whoever you want, but like Mother Teresa is a good example.
Yeah.
Now, to believe that being selfish, honoring self-respect at the highest level is negative or bad, and that somehow self-sacrifice is a greater virtue, would suppose that Mother Teresa would rather do something else with her life than what she did. Now, we don't get to interview her to find out the answer, but I would fucking bet that my girl, Mother
MT.
Teresa, MT, MT, would look you in the face and say, I will choose to do this 8 days a week. And that is the highest expression for her of self-respect, her being selfish. I said it, Mother Teresa, selfish. Thank God. You know what I'm saying?
They can't see me like fucking moving around here like this.
Thank God.
Listen to me. Dude, that's important shit.
Yeah.
People need to hear that.
Because, like I said earlier, everybody's scared.
Right.
And because everybody's scared, what most people are doing, and this sounds judgy, I'm not judging, I'm in it with y'all. Okay, fuck, every day. What most people are doing is because they're scared, they're trying to hedge. So like if you're betting in like the stock market, like a hedge is a way to like protect some of your risk. Okay, so they're trying to hedge their vulnerability. We don't like falling flat on our face and failing and getting hurt and experiencing these sort of negative feedback, uncomfortable environments. And so because we are scared, our behavior gets weird, and we get around other people who intentionally hedge their own vulnerability, and we lock arms and we huddle up and we say like, it's okay, right? Like, it's hard out here, right? Like, you know, bills, whatever, can't blame me, right? Because we're scared and we don't want to be out there alone, vulnerable. And we get to attach cool words to that, like self-sacrifice, man, I got this nonprofit, man, like whatever. And it's like, I'm not knocking nonprofits, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying that people in the name of self-sacrifice find safety from like the mirror of like who they really are. Like, I would rather self-sacrifice and like live for other people and diminish myself if it allows me to avoid looking in that mirror a little bit. And that's so heavy that people will give away their whole life. They will never know who they could have been because it's too scary.
Brutal.
Oh.
It's brutal.
Right? Now, it's the same reason why, think about all the people you admire. There are all these people that are going for it. You secretly want that. You're just scared. It's okay. Those people are scared too. And the thing that I was just talking about this earlier up at the pool is like, man, there's also a community, it's just smaller, of people who are being vulnerable and they're trying hard things and they're so scared. And it's hard, and they live in uncertainty as well. What those people, like whoever is on the poster in your room of like Justin Bieber or whoever, your favorite actor, your favorite musician, whatever, they are living in uncertainty just like you are, and they're failing every day. Like you said earlier, I wake up every day, something to the effect of like, and I know I'm doing like my best. I'm giving my best. Okay. That's the part you get to control. That's the process.
Right.
Let me ask you another gnarly question. Have you nailed it? Like, have you perfected any of the things that you want? Like did today go perfect? Did the podcast start perfect? You tried to start with a thing. We didn't even do the thing.
Oh, it did.
Right? You're blowing it. This podcast is fucked from the beginning. Right? You're giving your best effort, and it's a great podcast. I think everybody's going to enjoy it. But, like, it's not the perfect one.
No.
Okay? And so people who are so afraid that they won't try and they'll self-sacrifice think, I believe, they think that the reality of these people that they admire is not full of this sort of failure and dissatisfaction and constant negative feedback, this constant like striving for a thing and landing somewhere below it.
Yeah.
Like, yo, Donald Glover, murdering it.
Yeah.
Killing it. He's not matching his vision. He's not, I don't know the guy.
Right.
But he's not.
Right.
The performance was, like one, damn it. The transition in the first court, fuck. There's all these deviations from his standard. Like you were talking about, black belt beauty is like this sort of standard, this highest level thing or whatever. And we're all,
it's your highest
thank
expression.
God you are like going for it.
Right.
But like, I hate to like be rude in your own house, but like you're not there.
No, I'm certainly not there.
And neither am I, and no one is.
No.
But some people are willing to try, and other people will self-sacrifice.
Well, some people are driven by that, and some people are afraid of it to the point where, like you said, I mean, I'll use myself as an example. Yeah, there's a lot. Hold on.
Yeah, I saw that on here earlier. So good.
Have you read this?
No.
It is so fucking good. if you need more water.
You're good.
So I just held up one of my favorite books, and I'm so weird about. It's so funny. It's like one of my favorite books that I actually don't even talk about it. How weird is that? Fucking selfish.
It's like your thing.
It's
selfish.
like I know. It's like
be selfish.
The Art of Uncertainty. I love this book. So to go back to what you were saying is before I started the podcast, oh man, there's so much fear. I mean, this is so like learn as you go. I just know there's something so deep inside of me that feels like home. This is my space. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. I don't have it all figured out, but I know that this is where I belong. This is where I want to be. You know, that's a better way to maybe even put it. And I'm going to learn as I go, and I'm going to get better. And whereas like some people maybe would want to do something like this, start their podcast, using it as the example, but the fear of performance, of, you know, succeeding, of all that stuff is just too debilitating that they don't, you know, they back down. So I want to throw this in here and see what you do with it.
See what I do with it. Do something with it.
Do something with it. And it all will make sense, I think.
Okay.
So people over the years, whether it's in the gym, whether it's I just got done training and I'm in my clothes and I'm at Whole Foods and people ask like, what do you do? Like, what's your sport, you know? And so the fucking only answer that I can really come up with that makes most sense is life. Life is my sport. And so I want to break that down to you and then yeah. So I have a lot of different forms of movement. So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, high intensity interval training. I come from a family of, you know, athletes and I grew up like as a kid, I was a competitive runner, long distance. I do beach runs. I fucking move it. I lift. I do all kinds of yoga, right? And here's the thing, surf. So each one of these, it's all about like what's below it. Like, yes, I appreciate what's on the top, what I'm actually doing, but it's so much deeper than that. So when I'm running in the sand and I'm already at like an hour in and it's hot as fuck and I'm uncomfortable and I want to stop, I just think about the endurance that I need for my life, for these things that I'm pursuing, these things that I'm passionate about. There are times where, you know, surfing, you're sitting and you got to fucking wait a long time for your wave. Great ones going by. You can't get frustrated.
Yeah.
That'll blow everything. You got to just sit and be patient and you get your wave eventually. Yoga, I mean, knowing how to fucking breathe. Just jujitsu. I mean, this is like knowing how to be comfortable in discomfort. There's a big ass guy on top of me. We're in gis. I'm hot as fuck. And I can't lose myself in that moment. I have to have composure. And I fucking love that word so much. So I take all these lifting. I got to be strong in my life. I got to be, you know, so it's like I take all these pieces. I use my modalities of training really just to fucking enhance this being that I am so that I can live this expression of life that I want to live.
Totally.
And that life is my sport.
That's amazing. And what's beautiful about it is those are all your choices. And someone could have similar results choosing different things across the board.
Totally.
Right? And that goes back to that idea of skill transfer that I mentioned earlier, is like we benefit from the context of the practice that we're in. You know, the ultimate trump card when you're doing like heady conversations is none of this matters, right? Like this is like a blip in time, like none of this matters, right? And so the way to sort of nullify that claim is that, well, if none of this matters, right? If our life is just a moment, a speck of dust in the thing, and you know we can no longer relate, and it just we use that as an excuse to avoid all this hard work and all that. None of this matters. Then you can get to the place where, okay, if none of this matters in the grand scheme of things, then we get to decide what matters. And there's a reason why we draw the lines on the field. And we say, how about 3 outs an inning? And 3 strikes makes an out. And there's first base, second base, third base. And there's home plate, and then if you go around, and then it counts as a run, and then, you know, you can score runs, and then we'll switch bases, and I score runs, and then the people, right? Yeah. And in jiu-jitsu, there's rules, right? And so you can submit people, and these frameworks, the ocean, I'm gonna go out on this board, I'm gonna go out to these waves, whatever. It provides the meaning and the context for your behavior in there, and it allows us to get feedback. Because if nothing matters, we're just in this like vacuum, then like we get no information, and then we're just here. But if you choose to put yourself in an environment like, okay, let's make a game. You wear this weird outfit, I wear this weird outfit. We can't punch or kick each other, but when one of us quits, you lose, and then the other person wins, and we're gonna call it jiu-jitsu, right? And then you start learning all these best practices. Well, there's this like move I can do. There's this thing. There's this technique that's better than this other technique that I had, and then you just go down the rabbit hole and you learn the thing. And that's why it pays to put yourself in environments with some sort of structure for feedback, because this feedback is how we get better. It's information for how we improve. You know, weightlifting, for example, like the sport of weightlifting, meaning like the snatch and clean and jerk that you see in the Olympics. Very few rules. One event, bar starts on the ground. How much weight can you get overhead? Except I'm going to allow you to stop the weight at your shoulders. Then we'll call that the clean and jerk. Right? And there's the snatch where bar starts on the ground, most weight possible to get overhead. You can't stop with the weight anywhere. Right? Now, if you're a weightlifting nerd, you know that there are some other rules about like what you can wear and what you can't. In the 70s, I believe, is when they allowed bar contact of the hip, and that changed some of the techniques. But there's no rules about like where you put your hands, and like, you know, what a clean looks like, and what a jerk looks like, and what a snatch looks like. These are all just the best ways these people have found to accomplish the task. And the sport, just a bunch of people being like, here's the game. Weights on the ground, put it over your head. Heaviest person wins. You start to go down the rabbit hole of like, well, what are the best techniques? Maybe I should do some extra squats on the side. Maybe I should get my press up. Maybe I need to be flexible enough to be in this position, right? And this is just specific to weightlifting, right? And so it's important for us to, if we're interested in development, to put yourself in environments, and they're all artificial, all this shit's made up, in environments that will give you feedback, because that feedback will inform how you can improve. And that's what you've done, right? That's what surfing is. That's what yoga is. That's what all this stuff is. You found out that it's kind of miserable to breathe like shit in a 90-minute yoga class where it's hot as fuck, and that improving and addressing this breath thing would leave you with a richer, fuller, more beautiful experience. Right. And now that is one level of feedback inside of your yoga practice. Then you find like, oh, there's these certain positions I can't get in, and I'm failing on these one, right? And that is feedback, and it allows, it's a mechanism for you to improve. Most people that like, not to judge, but like maybe look at you in the grocery store, they're like, how do you do it? Right? Yeah. They haven't either been blessed with or don't necessarily seek out environments that would inform them how to improve. Right. They're just like living. Right. I wake up, sometimes I feel like shit, sometimes I don't, sometimes I eat, sometimes I don't.
That's what I call autopilot.
Yeah. Right. And so if life is your sport, you're sort of seeking out environments that often reflect sport. And sport's just a wonderful environment, just like entrepreneurship, where you are constantly given feedback. And if you're open to that feedback, then you have an opportunity to improve forever. And now you have all kinds of cool results to show for it, right? It's cool. Yeah.
Fucker. Fucker. Wait, I have to bring something up that was really good that I feel like everybody needs to hear who's listening. This one really, I wish you could have seen me when I first fucking heard you say it. Uh-oh. You're like, are you scared?
What did I say?
Can you explain what a low performing conversation is?
Oh man.
Oh. So good. You want me to?
I think I know what you mean. Are you talking about like the?
So like if the Eagles
feedback. Oh yeah. Okay. I know. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I know what you mean.
That shit's so good.
Okay.
You need water?
No, I'm okay. So what you're talking about is I'm comparing and contrasting high performance individuals and teams versus low performance individuals and teams. And one indicator of, let's say, a high performance group is the effectiveness of their communication. Whoever's listening, I think, could maybe imagine what the communication, whether they've been in a locker room like this or not, what the communication would be like in their like favorite sports team's locker room, like at halftime or whatever. And it wouldn't shock anyone to assume that communication is very direct. Sometimes I think when we think about and glorify sports, see them in movies or whatever, it's kind of like harsh. People tell you how it is. Fucking hit your spot. It's an outright on one, whatever. Tom Brady's fucking yelling at some guy. I don't know anything about sports. Right? And they are able to make a beeline towards the truth. And that environment is really healthy. It really speaks to performance because that's what sport demands. When you get paid millions of dollars to do a job, and if you can't do your job, there's 8 million other kids in line for it, you find out the best way to do your job very clearly. Except most of us are on teams in like the quote-unquote real world that are just low-performing, underachieving, sad-ass organizations where we don't communicate that way at all because we're afraid. We're actually part of an organization that probably isn't really interested in the highest version of itself. People are trying to get that money and get out. Hey, man, I'm just doing my job. They do this a lot. They put their palms up a lot. Hey, if you put your palms up ever, you know you're blowing it. Have you ever done that?
No, I don't think so.
Maybe you got a parking ticket? What? No, just do it right now. Open your mouth and put your palms up. You're a victim.
You're a victim.
It should be a video podcast.
It should. I'm fucking slapping my knees.
What? How do you spell what? It's like there's like a Y in there.
Oh my God, it's so good.
You're not interested in the truth in a whack-ass, low-performing job. How do you talk to each other? Susan, good to see you. How was a good weekend? Yeah? Yeah. No, long weekend. Good. Yeah. Anyway, how are we doing? I'm like fucking 90 seconds into nothing so far. And all this is some bullshit. She doesn't want to have it. I don't want to have it. We're still not getting better. And we do this compliment sandwich bullshit. And it is by nature low performance, not because I'm trying to talk shit about like corporate America or something like that, but it's just ineffective. And the feedback loop is much slower. The reason why people, maybe the thing you heard me say, the example was like the Eagles, because I think they won the Super Bowl or something, was like, if you are competing at the highest level in anything, if it takes you 2 plays to make an adjustment and you're playing against people that make an adjustment in 1 play, you're out of business. Yeah. If it takes you a whole season to make an adjustment, you are in middle school and you don't even make the high school team. And so high performers are interested in the truth because they need the best possible information to make adjustments. That's what we just said. That your sport is life. You're in all these environments that give you feedback, and you're interested in that. You're like, yo, how am I blowing it? You said that earlier, completely unsolicited. You're like, how can I be doing this better? Like, what can I do differently? These are questions that high performers ask because it's critical feedback to the future version of yourself that you haven't met yet.
Right.
And high performance teams get past their own ego bullshit and their feelings, and they realize that, hey, maybe it doesn't feel that good for you to call me a motherfucker and get on the ball and hit my right out or whatever football plays are called. But guess what? We're both trying to do something hard, and we really want to do this. We share a lot of great purpose in this, so it works.
Yeah.
And high performance teams and people are able to get to truth faster than other people.
It's like such a beautiful end piece, and it makes me think like I can't help but think that also applies to relationships.
Totally.
Fuck. And the end piece just makes it even more the case that, you know, if you want to be in a relationship that just fucking, I don't even know how I want to say what I want to say, but just isn't growing, doesn't really hold substance and value, and continues to grow substance and value, and that all has to survive, or the foundation of that needs to be truth. So the communication needs to be on that level, right?
Totally.
Like, let's not fucking dance around. I don't know. I just think
And
it's so
it's
transferable.
It's way easier said than done. Like, let's
For
like, just
sure.
straight up, whatever. You know, maybe your relationship's not trying to win the Super Bowl or whatever.
Right.
It should be. You know. You know.
They're like, what the fuck?
So good.
I can't.
We would call it palms up in college. Do you just go palms up on me?
Oh, really? Is
Yeah,
that
it's a thing. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You can't go palms up on someone
amazing.
else. There's a lot of unwritten rules in baseball, and they're largely around respect. So martial arts is good about this too, like mutual respect.
Yeah.
So like baseball is funny because even like, you know, turn on Major League Baseball tonight, there are like unbelievably rude, disrespectful things being said. But as long as you don't, in baseball it's called show someone up.
Okay.
As long as you don't show that you're being disrespectful, it's okay, right? So as a catcher, think about my position, I wear like all this shit and I'm like kneeling behind home plate and I have like a mask on.
Yeah.
You know, I can catch a pitch that I think is a strike, umpire calls it a ball, and as long as I'm facing forward and I have my mask on, I can be like, are you fucking kidding me, Bill? Is it gonna be 9 innings of this bullshit? I throw it back. I'm like, that is you cannot miss that pitch. You just can't. You can't miss the pitch. I'm just saying, it's fucking bullshit. You can literally do that and be like,
Wow.
no, Gelby, we're all right. I got you, buddy. And we're fine. And it's like, as long as you do that. But if I turn my shoulder, or like, you can see examples of this all over Major League Baseball. The moment I like turn my shoulder or you tip up your mask, ejected from the game immediately. Because it's a sign of disrespect, right?
That's
and
so
it's like,
interesting.
So palms up, you cannot go, what the fuck?
It's such a big deal. Like,
You're a fucking out. Right? So I don't know how we got there. Palms
that's
up.
dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, high performance conversations and relationships and how they, you know, so not just in
Yeah.
teams. Well, a relationship is a team, hopefully, right? Should be.
Yeah, and you know, so I get into trouble, not in trouble, but people, my shtick in like the leadership conversation is around negative feedback, or people don't like that because they got feelings, but like disconfirming information. We know that that's where you're going to evolve. It's the information that we need to seek out. So I think the general perspectives, just kind of like capping up what we just said, like the general perspective is, if you just start with the awareness that you have an ego, and it's always going to feel way better to be right, and it's always going to feel way better to be complimented and told how great you are. If you can sort of just like hold that in your mind, and then also hold that it's always going to feel a little icky for someone to tell you how maybe you made a mistake or where you're coming up short. And that type of information is what you really need to get better. So if we can just like take a few steps back, we don't got to get specific right now. And if you can just be aware that like in general, I'm going to want to tend to look for information that feels good. And in general, it's not going to feel so good to get feedback. And feedback's really what I need. If you start from that place, then you might be able to take on this sort of growth mindset that we talk about and hunt and seek out how you might be wrong about something. And if you do that, you can develop any craft forever. But the moment you become resistant to that information, you're generally probably a dick to work with and be in a relationship with, and you're definitely not improving.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I just think it's a good place to learn lessons that we just civilians can use from the fringes, from like the highest level performers, you know, and people in the highest level athletics, combat, places where the consequences are highest, teach us over and over and over again that like it would be insane to talk to people on your team the way that we talk to people at work.
Right.
What the fuck is that? Like, no, I really want this like behavior to change, and it's really undercutting our team, and it's like really toxic, and it's really brutal, but like, I like your blouse. Like, what the motherfucker? That's the lowest level bullshit ever. But like everybody's playing that game.
It's so true. It's fucking so true.
Because we're scared and we got feelings.
You know what? I want to share a story really quickly. So this is a relationship that, this is years ago. This is like 15 years ago. This guy's still my good friend. We dated for a year. Loved him. He was a great guy. Towards the end, I just started to notice some insecurities that were just so... They were not allowing him to be in a position where I could feel. He was just so insecure. I can't even like. Let me just stop. He was
Don't
just being insecure. The blouse.
Yeah. Your jeans look awesome.
He just wasn't fucking. He was so. He was holding himself back, and it was becoming unattractive.
Yeah.
You know, and to where I was starting to feel sorry for him, because I was like, this is not, and then, you know, at that point, it's like, it's a wrap, because if I can't look to you in that way, then, you know, for me, him being my man, I was like, okay, this is not going to work. So, breakup has to happen. And I really loved him, you know, because it wasn't like something was wrong with him. He was just in a place in his life where that's where he was. And it wasn't a place that would make sense for me to be his girlfriend anymore, right? Yeah. So I had to have the talk with him, and I just told him, like, I love you. I can be your friend. I could be your best friend. I cannot be your girlfriend while you're going through this right now, because I know where it's going to take us. It's not going to, it's nothing that I can support you with. This is your shit that you gotta, you know, I can support you as a friend, but anyways, he wasn't comfortable with it at first, but it was like, what are you going to do? Like, it's a wrap. So, and I'm so grateful for this, because it was uncomfortable for me to have that conversation. I'm going to hurt someone that I actually really love. But I knew that that was the most responsible sign of respect that I can actually offer him and me even. It's like our time, I'm not going to do him any good by, let me try and be with you on this journey that I already know is not going to, no. So I don't remember the time, because it was so long ago, how long it took afterwards. But, you know, well afterwards, like different relationships were in a different... He would bring it up several times when we would talk here and there, or when we spoke at that time. But he basically said that was the greatest thing that anybody's ever offered him, because it was the ultimate truth, and it was so... And I'm so grateful, because he knew, he was like, I knew that wasn't fucking easy for you. Yeah. But
he was thankful that you took that on.
Yeah, and you know what? And it shifted him. It really did. It was like he definitely expanded into that next level version of himself, which was great, right? He didn't throw his palms. He didn't, dude. Right. His palms didn't go up, you know, or I didn't see him go up. You know?
They internally went up.
I mean, you know, and I mean, to me, it's like, man, that is a successful fucking relationship. Yeah. It didn't even have to go in the whole fucking forever till, I mean, we're still friends, but like, it was just that honesty and really reverence, you know, and like, so it's like courage is one part, reverence, you know, respect is another part, truth. It's just, yeah, I don't know. And I'm glad that I had that experience in my life.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you were able to, so this is, we're doing all the callbacks. This is like, this is dope. This is high level. This is how you do high level comedy, allegedly.
Oh, shit.
You know, go back to the guy in that stage of his life when you're breaking up with him. Classic adaptive challenge, right? Because if you handed that dude a stack of papers, this is like a joke, but if you handed that dude a stack of papers on like how being self-conscious doesn't serve someone, right? Like he'd be like, chapter 1, like dude knows that,
Right.
He has all the information in the world to know that, but he had to see beyond his blind spots to evolve, and he got whacked over the head with some truth in this thing, and he could no longer unsee these results he got. Like, I love you, this is real, and this is now what's happening. He can't unsee the fact, oh shit, whether I disagree, this, that, the other thing, I'm presenting myself in the world as a self-conscious person to the level that is costing me relationships in my life. Blinders are off. That's a blind spot that he could not see before. He now sees it. That's an opportunity for adaptive change. Sounds like he took that on and saw that. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, and now we move forward. That individual might be stuck in a loop where they're like, man, I just can't get over this thing, and I'm going to listen to a lot of podcasts about it, or I'm going to read a lot of books about it, or and it's not technical. It's not a technical problem, and so he grew up that day or over a period of reflection or whatever. Right? And that's the juice, man. That's where it's at.
That is the juice. Yeah.
That's rad.
Thanks.
Nice job.
Thanks.
Yeah. You're an adaptive.
Chest out. I'm sitting here proud.
You're an adaptive leader. Bless you.
Thanks. Wait, okay. I'm so curious. It's kind of a different fucking birds. I love watching the birds.
You were talking about that at the beach. That's right.
I did. The crows.
So good.
That's right. Well, now you can see my set. So in the mornings,
legit.
I wake up super early. I have a whole, we talked about this. It's like I didn't even know your name. And I was telling you what I do in the morning. Cold showers.
That's right.
Dry brushing.
Yeah.
But I sit here and I just watch.
It's a great spot.
And it's really good. And it's really, I don't know. It's deep. But really isn't.
Nothing matters. Everything matters. Nothing matters. Everything
You know what?
matters.
There's okay, so when I meditate, fucking sun. It's
You
just
did?
everywhere. Yeah. So when I meditate, I have conversations with my highest self, and I call her my muse, and people who listen to this podcast already know this about me, so whatever.
Whatever.
So it's not this like full on quiet time where there's no thoughts. No, there's fucking communication happening, and I love it because when I'm done meditating, I feel like I'm primed, you know? So these words, my muse, highest self, offered to me one day. And she said, because I remember this moment, I was kind of like troubled in some way, or like couldn't figure something out, or whatever it fucking was, right? And she said to me, Roxy, nothing means anything except the meaning you decide to give it.
Damn.
Nothing means anything except the meaning you decide to give it. Whoa, dude, I fucking went, what?
Yeah.
And it was so, receiving those words is like you have a secret weapon in life, right? So when shit gets unnecessarily uncomfortable, right? Like, you fucking know you're making it harder on yourself than you need to, right? You're looking at it in a way that you could I just apply it. Nothing means anything except the meaning. So what are you deciding? These are the two important things. You deciding. What are you deciding to give, what's the meaning that you're deciding to give this to?
Totally.
Whatever it is. It's so fucking powerful.
Yeah, and it's really hard to get outside of the things that we assume are true. And so it helps to do, like, luckily you were able to get to that in meditation. But, you can do, like, mental experiments to sort of, like, test this. It's like, what matters? Like, what has value? And you can do silly ones like, we could go to the local fancy car dealership and get, like, the dopest thing off the lot. And if we just sort of took that car and we're like, man, this is crazy. We got this dope ass ride, whatever. And if you just dropped that in like a clearing in, you know, the rainforest or another place where there like isn't context to what that even is, people would be like, why do you put the metal thing in the way of the, what do you know, or something else with weird value. Like people go crazy about baseball cards, you know, like there's these weird, like, Honus Wagner baseball card is the most valuable card in the world. Wayne Gretzky used to own it, and then it's passed hands, but it's like sold at auction for millions of dollars or whatever. If you don't have context for what that is, you're like, a piece of paper. Like, what is that?
Right.
You know, you take a briefcase full of money, $1 million. We're freaking out.
Right.
Because for us, we've attached some value to that. You take it to a place that doesn't have context for that, and they're like, empty the briefcase, I have a briefcase now. Like, get this stupid shit out of there. You know what I mean? Like, where do you assign your meaning? And in the summit, the last couple summits, I've used this example before. It's like, what you're saying is in some ways like deciding what winning is. Like, you can declare what that is. And I always say, like, no disrespect to my boy Tate. He's in a bunch of movies or whatever, but he was in a movie that came out recently, Jumanji 2, and I didn't see it because generally it sounds like a bad idea. But Jumanji 2, people, made $900 million at the box office.
That's a big deal. Yeah. Damn.
If that's insane for a bad sequel.
Right.
Like, let's, no disrespect, The Rock, you know, whatever, you did your thing. But surely those guys, Kevin Hart, the crew, decided what winning was, and I would imagine that for them that was a certain career play, a financial thing, this, that, the other. But like, yo, let's call a spade a spade. The director, everybody there, no one is under the illusion that they're making like cinematic art.
Right.
They got paid and they did their thing, and some people went to the movies on a weekend and had a great time, and that was it. It's not Casablanca.
No.
But they decided that was what winning was. You know, if you make a movie and you decide winning would be making a truckload of money, they won.
Right.
If you decide, I'm on this planet to make art and I have something to say, and I'm trying to go to the film festival and like make moves, it's not Jumanji 2. It's just not.
No.
That's a failure.
It's not.
Let's be clear. I'm not trying to do any of that shit. Right? Okay, and so we get to assign meaning wherever we go.
Right.
And in my opinion, Jumanji 2 doesn't mean shit.
I never saw it. So. I did like Jumanji, though, the original.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But you know what I mean? No, it's just a silly example, but it's like
a good one.
That if you do the mental experiments, like those things are everywhere.
Right.
And we take it as gospel. Like, this matters, this doesn't. And it's like, if we think long enough, there's a million examples of the exact opposite of that.
Right.
You know, and so if you start to curate what you decide matters in your life, then you can like create anything.
Totally.
You know, look at this place. You've created this.
Yeah.
You decided what matters to you, and this is a perfect reflection of it. Right. And there's other people who their place looks different, and it's on a farm, and it's another thing, and it's a place where you'd be bored and you don't get it and whatever. And they're like, I don't know how those other people do it.
Right.
By the beach, miserable. Like, or whatever, you know.
Losing. Clearly.
You know? I don't know.
No, that's so true. That's a great way to put it. Okay, so
we're gonna get focused, I swear. No, you ain't.
If they could only see.
No,
you guys
back to the
literally
script.
Dodging the.
There's no script.
I have paid. You know what's funny?
This is an organized podcast.
I actually fucking wrote. Oh my god.
There's a heckler section, right?
I'm such a fucking heckler. You know what's funny? I listen to myself. I have so much passion in me, right? Like, so you're saying something, and it resonates so deeply with me. And I'm not going to interrupt you, but you fucking see a big smile. It's like coming on. I can't even. And sometimes it's like I have a loss for words. Like, I wish I could be more articulate in some moments, but I can't because I have an overwhelming feeling of fucking fuck yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing
That's
can come
manifested in a million different ways for a million different people. Like, I know people that unfortunately are so smart and their brain moves so fast that they could never like speak in a way that honors what's in their head.
Right.
And so they're like these caged, brilliant people.
Sure.
They can't communicate with the world, and it's like weird.
Right.
And it's unfortunate,
Sucks.
right?
Yeah.
I think we all have that thing. I'm very introverted, so I have to really think about things before I say them. And so that's my own
But I am too.
little thing.
Well, I'm an ambivert, whatever. I'm a fucking
What does that
me,
mean? You
but-
do everything?
Yeah.
You like get energy from everywhere?
So, no,
I get energy from people. I get energy from being alone. I get energy from being quieter.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like you can get it from both. It's
That's
down
cool.
the line. But I'm for sure, I spend most of my time with, I don't say alone, because I don't care for them. With myself. Not even by myself.
Understood.
With myself. And that's important because I'm in a very deep, committed relationship with myself.
I dig that.
So much to where it's like, let's just say it's like, oh, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm working, I'm traveling, I'm with friends. I have a great time. I'm enjoying my environment. I'm enjoying these connections with these people. But yo, by fucking Thursday,
It's a wrap.
it's a wrap, because this really important person that I love and that I need time with, like, is summoning me. I'm like, okay. And
That's important.
I don't want
That's
to
really
talk
cool.
to anybody because I'm already talking with somebody. Yeah, so it's an interesting thing. So I think that I am more introverted. I'm not shy, but I'm not necessarily,
You're thoughtful.
very much.
You're very thoughtful, and it shows in your language because you check yourself. Like you're like, oh, I'm about to say something, but like, no, I'm not done with it, right? And that's just because it matters to you. Like
Absolutely.
if it didn't matter, you'd just be like, you'd just be talking shit, and anything would come out. you know?
Right.
It's cool.
It's cool. But what were you saying? You're an introvert?
Yeah, I'm an introvert. I'm just playing an extrovert on podcast right now.
Let me ask you a question. As an introvert, as someone who speaks around the world and you speak... So this is the real question I want to ask you. That was kind of like the accessory to the question.
Yeah.
What do you do when you are feeling not uncomfortable, insecure, a lack of confidence, fearful? What do you do? Like, what's your self-talk like? And you got to go through it. Like, you can't back down.
I am my best sort of advocate, like I'm my own Jerry Maguire kind of thing. And so my self-talk is something that's helped me do lots of things in my life. It's something I lean on heavily, and the default self-talk is like hype man positive, which is cool. But my general strategy and the times that you're speaking about are I go inward. That's like where I hulk up. That's where I get what I need to go out and solve problems in the world. So under stress, under different types of adversity or uncertainty, I get really quiet. Like when shit hits the fan or something's going on, like I go this way. And it's just I rely on like a higher level of focus. And I've recognized since a very young age that I'm able to focus in like oddly like specific, intense ways from any task, like drawing or writing or, something athletic, is I'm able to sort of like shut out lots of other things to direct all of my energy. And part of that is just because I believe that has a higher utility than other things.
Yeah.
And that I felt like, if I could help myself out, I need it, let's make this easier. And so I go inward. I seek time alone. I try to think things through, I feel most out on a ledge, like on alone and vulnerable and unprepared if I haven't had time to sort of like internalize. Very specific example, the first time I recognized this, there's two examples. The first athletic example of this is, I was like 14, 15 years old. I mentioned in my sport, baseball, I was a catcher, which is a unique position because it's very skill specific. So if you're like an infielder, you could kind of piece it together at any of the infield positions. I mean, it's not as straightforward as that, but you're just more versatile in that way. Like a left fielder couldn't just like, I'm going to be catcher today. Like it just doesn't work. It's very specific. And so because it's very specific and it's generally a laborious position where people throw things at you and it's just kind of not that comfortable, not a lot of people want to play it. Okay, yeah. So it's kind of a rare position. So that being said, through my younger athletic career, I was sort of like a catcher for hire for a lot of teams because it's a valuable position. And so to expedite the story, one day come home from high school and I was playing for like 3 club teams in Southern California. It's sunny all year. You can just get a million reps in the sport, and a coach from another team called me and said, "Hey, Logan, we're in a pinch. We have this showcase tonight at Blair Field, that's Long Beach State, 7 p.m. Can you be there? We need a catcher." And I was very poor at telling people no at this stage of my life, so I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll be there." And so I didn't have my license yet at the time, so my dad is driving me to Long Beach to play in this game, and I remember feeling really odd in the car, like this was like a novelty, like it was very unfamiliar. And then it was like magnified times 1,000 when I got to the field and I carry my gear down, I'm in the dugout, and then I'm going out to warm up. And technically at this moment in my life, just mathematically, I'm the most prepared for this moment. Like I haven't been this old before. I haven't played this many games before. I'm technically the most prepared for this game than I have for any game in my life. And I felt completely like naked out there. I was like, I don't know how to do, like, what is this? Where am I? How do you throw? What? It completely foreign. And then I began to like try to find out why I was feeling this way, explain what was happening. And what I realized was my whole life at a high level, I was visualizing and preparing subconsciously for everything that I've done, to where whether it's school or whether it's a game or whether it's a talk I'm giving, I've sort of been there 1,000 times before I'd been there. And this particular environment sort of robbed me of that, right? Because it was like an hour ago, I didn't know I was even going to be here.
Right.
So I didn't, at school, I would have been thinking about this thing. I would have been imagining Blair Field and the lights and the at-bats and the pitches I would see and whatever. And, as we know now in reverse, that's a high-level tool for performance, visualization, mental preparation, etc. And I was sort of just doing this automatically. And I think for me, it hits extra hard because that's how introverts operate, right? Is they tend to try to rehearse or prepare before they go and do their thing. So I feel most out on a limb when I'm in an environment that I haven't prepared for, because I feel like I haven't like earned the results,
Yeah, dude, that's nice.
Yeah.
that's powerful.
The other example that's way less sexy than that, this is the very first time I recognized that, was, I literally remember this like it was yesterday, kindergarten. Long story short, both my parents were out of town, so my neighbor behind me, we went to the same school, his mom was going to take us to school, and we went to the library before school. It's a very simple thing. Go to the library, makes sense, kids, books, before school. I was completely fucked up. I was like, this is not the routine. What do we got? Like, are we going to be there on time? Like, this is insane. I'm not going through, this is kindergarten. I'm going through like a routine of like, what the fuck? What do you prepare for in kindergarten? You know what I mean?
I know.
But I was like derailed because I was like, yo, like this is not on my program. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
That's how you
I do that everywhere in my life, is I try to prepare, So,
but as a high performer and someone who wants to constantly be growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So then isn't it beneficial to put yourself in situations that you haven't prepared for? Oh my God, the sun.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, it's not you. It's the sun.
Taking responsibility for the sun now. Egomaniac. I'm sorry. It's a little bright today. Yes.
Sorry.
So your question was, well, what the hell? Like, what are you trying to control your environment? Are you trying to, right? So, no. Let me give you an example that I think everybody can relate to. High performers they master that which is in their control to the highest level. I'll give you 2 examples that teach the same lesson. Have you ever seen how an NBA player, so world-class basketball athlete, prepares to shoot a free throw? Just imagine that thing.
Yeah.
They're in a game. The people are lined up on the sides, and they're right there, and they're doing the thing.
Okay,
and
got it. Yeah.
They do like weird shit, right? You can imagine this. Like some people like bounce it twice. They like flip it in their fucking hand, bounce it again. They do like the little double pump, and then they do the shot.
Right.
And then if they get 2 shots, I'll bet you all the money in my wallet that whoever we're watching right now does the same exact thing. 2 dribbles, flips it in their hand, dribble, double pump, shot. What are they doing? They're bringing a routine into an environment that is like your book, The Art of Uncertainty. Mm-hmm. There's some number of elements of this that are outside of their control, including if the ball goes in the basket. Mm-hmm. And this routine is a subconscious or conscious way to control some of the variables, to make familiar this effort. So if I am in my 10th year in the NBA and I've done every free throw the same way, I'm bringing thousands and thousands of reps of familiarity to this unknown. Right. And it increases performance. Well, why doesn't this dude do that when it's not a free throw situation? Imagine they're running down the court, fast break, get the ball, 3-pointer. Does he do the 2 dribbles and then flip it in his hand and then the dribble and then no, he fucking doesn't, because the dude would take the ball from him.
Right.
But if he could, he would.
Right.
And so we see this all over sports. Every place that you can control a variable, the best athletes in the world will do that. Mm-hmm. Non-sport example. Operating table, high consequences, life and death. If you and I were going to have knee surgery tomorrow, God bless, knock on wood. If we were going to have knee surgery tomorrow, what would they say at the office? Okay, you got to come in. We got your appointment at 9 a.m. If you could not have anything to eat or drink starting at 9 p.m. the night before, that would be great. So don't have breakfast. We need you to come in with an empty stomach. Why? Because there's a slight risk in anesthesia that there can be complications, and we're going to control for this complication. Any hospital in America, this is the instructions you would get. Okay. Knock on wood again. Don't want to be dark. It won't be you. It'll just be me this time.
I've already had 3.
Okay. Well,
yeah, we're good.
This time, I roll my car. God forbid. I get hit by a drunk driver. Roll my car on PCH. They're cutting me out of the car and putting me on the gurney, and I need to have surgery. When I go into the surgery, because my life is in jeopardy here, do they call my family and say, now, has he eaten in the last 12 hours? No, they fucking cut my ass open and they get to work. And that is a variable that is outside of their control in this moment. So if they will operate on me right away, if I get in a car accident down the street, then does that mean for our surgery that we should just have a big breakfast before our thing? No. Probably will be okay, but it's something that's inside of our control, so we will control for that. And that's what these routines are all around sports. That's why baseball players are the most superstitious people on the planet. They're doing all these weird tappy things, and they're taping their shit all the time. Jiu-jitsu athletes probably have their routine, a certain song they listen to. Yeah. You know, the guy that went and shot bin Laden listened to the same song from the game on the flight over that he did every other mission or whatever. Right. And these are examples where we are trying to minimize the things that are outside of our control. And that's all we can do. So by rehearsing and trying to imagine the game that's coming that night, am I fully in control of the outcome? No, I'm constantly in an environment that's outside of my control. Right? I'm going to strike out. I'm going to get a pitch I didn't expect. I'm going to get an outcome I don't expect, whatever. But choosing to rehearse is an act of controlling a variable that's inside of my control. It is preparation that I can own, right? And when you're doing things at a high level, you just know that it's so hard that it's to your best interest to maximize the things that are inside of your control, right?
Right.
So free throw, you're going to tell me these guys don't get to touch me? I'm over here doing my routine, man. On a fast break, I would love to do my routine. I would make more shots if I could do my routine, but they're not going to let me because I got this defender. Right. And so these are just examples that show us, whether we realize it or not, that at the highest level of performance, it always comes back to process. What's in my control? And if it's in your control, you'll take it. Right? What's the surgeon going to do? If I can tell you not to eat, like, I'm going to tell you not to eat because 1 out of every 10,000 people dies when they have food in their stomach. Right? And so, I'm constantly in environments that are outside of my control. All of them are. But if I have a variable that I can own, then I'm going to own it, you know? What?
That must make you feel good.
What? What?
My silence.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't know.
It's like this. Microphone drop.
Oh, no. I'm not dropping the mic.
Oh, damn. Okay, listen. Fuck. You're dangerous. Keep going and going.
I threatened I would do this, by the way.
No, I love it. No, I'm like, okay, he probably needs some water.
No,
he probably needs like fucking move.
I'm good.
So I'm being conscious of your time, but I'm so grateful because I
got all the time in the world. I got all the time in the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I got no responsibility. I don't have a job.
I'm like, really?
I don't have anything. No, seriously.
You're good.
I got all the time in the world.
Are there any questions, or is there a question that you've asked yourself? Like, let me say it like this. I have a question that I love to ask myself often.
What is it?
We talked about this earlier. And I ask myself in different situations and it can mean different things. Who are you right now?
Oh, okay.
Who are you? So really, like, how are you showing up? So do you have any questions that
I like to ask myself? I'll give you two. The question that I think is the most powerful question you can ask at any point in your life and it will hold the same weight is, what are you becoming? And it speaks to not just the snapshot of who you are now, but your directionality. I think directionality is more important than where you're at. This is the reason why there's something human about the fact where if we see someone who is 200 pounds overweight that is out there taking their first steps on a jog out to the pier, that, like, I see your eyes, they're like mine, they're starting to get like water in them.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes. Because where's that person at? If we're just going to be like, this is not my belief, but like, if we're just, for the sake of the example, be super judgmental, we'll say like that person is maybe like at a certain low point in an absolute manner, but in a relative manner that they are improving today. They're choosing to like go up. If they're like, if they were like a stock or something, they're going up.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a certain, we connect on that. I think anyone who's listening to that would be like, yeah, I'm into that. Okay. Now let's stereotype again, just for the sake of example. So you have this like rock star athlete, millionaire who is out late, drunk, wraps his Ferrari around a light pole and gets arrested for DUI. You know, I'm not like judging drinking or the thing, just like I'm not judging the person who's overweight, but the absolute position in that person's life based on our social norms is like killing it, like status, accomplished physicality, money, whatever value thing you want to put on that. but like, what's the directionality, right? This person is sort of like trending down, we'll say, right? And so in an absolute sense, where's the value? Like, our society says like, well, this person is like in shape, rich, famous, whatever, and this person is like anonymous, overweight, sick, whatever, and that one is sort of, in our socialized view, one is more accomplished, like higher up than the other. But in terms of their directionality, where they're headed, one is not improving, maybe, jaded, off track, partying, whatever, going down, and this other person is on this trajectory going up. So the what are you becoming question speaks not only to like maybe where you currently are, your absolute position, but like your relative position, like where you're going. And we all know it's about the journey, right? There's no finish line.
Right.
Furthermore, if you get to a finish line and you just start chilling, there's something about that where we're like, no.
Right, no.
Right?
No.
It's this direction. So what are you becoming speaks to that. The other question is the developmental one that is very common, not my words. My coach says a lot. I don't think it's her words either. It's just a mental experiment for developmental psychology, which is a healthy one to ask all the time, which is, how might I be wrong about this? Right? So claim something that you believe is true. I am a good person. How might I be wrong about that? And if you go down the rabbit hole, spend as much time and energy and effort with that question as you want, you'll be better for it. I'm a good podcast host. How might I be wrong about that? Right? I'm a good public speaker. How might I be wrong about that? Will inform you in very healthy ways of where to improve and how to move the needle on yourself. And that is a specific way to seek disconfirming information, which is the key to like the evolution part between the ears.
So those are really good questions. Do you feel like, so you ask yourself these questions from time to time?
Oh yeah.
So great. I just wanted to
try
make
to
sure.
break your game, right? Because like, think about where I'm at. Like, I'm in the most, like, it's funny, you were asking me earlier, like, who am I or what am I or something like that.
Yeah.
And like, there's certain connotations that I'm like disgusted by, right? So like, calling myself a personal trainer or calling myself a trainer in general, like, makes me want to vomit. Yeah. And that's me being judgmental, but there's a certain level of attachment there that I don't want to be a part of, because the connotation is, I'm in an environment where it pays to be ruthlessly dogmatic and closed-minded, right? Because if you're some sort of authority in fitness, which is just a weird environment, people slang dogma and they fight internally about stuff that doesn't matter, and they disagree because there's this mindset that that's how you create value, right? Because if I'm wrong, that's like a liability.
Right.
Think about if someone's like a personal trainer and like your client asks you a question, hey, so like, what do I do like for my shoulder doesn't hurt? This motherfucker is not qualified to answer this question. This motherfucker doesn't know the answer to it, to be honest, whatever. But it doesn't pay to say, I don't know, you should probably see this other person.
Right.
So what do? They make some shit up that's not true, and they continue to look like the expert, and they kind of get away with their sort of stance. In a lot of ways, the fitness industry isn't set up for people to ask the questions I just asked, like, how might I be wrong about this?
Right.
Because the moment that you have like a thing, a method, a book, a DVD, or whatever, it seems risky to ask yourself, how might I be wrong about this? You got to go around and tell everybody that this is the key to like whatever. And I don't want to be a part of that.
I don't think you could be.
Yeah.
Like, you don't. Yeah, it's no.
So constantly, trying to.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you introvert? I'm thinking how I want to say this right. Your relationship with your authenticity. What is your relationship with it?
I don't know. That's another thing of language, right? Where I want to be careful, because you say a word like authenticity and I hear it and everybody on this podcast hears it and they're like, good. It's like yoga and kettlebells. People are like, I'm in. That equals good. You know what I mean? And it just has a connotation to it. So of course my natural reaction is like, I'm authentic. I want to be that, you know? In terms of the reality of it, well, I don't know. I think I'm trying to move closer and closer to my truth, which seems like that would be my authentic self. I would be lying to you if I said that I've like arrived there. But I think that's true of everyone. Mm-hmm. So I think how I show up as like an authentic person, maybe someone would make that judgment of me, is a questioning not unlike what I just said. If someone were willing to ask themselves how they might be wrong about X, Y, or Z, or ask themselves objectively, what am I becoming, that they would be guided more towards the truth than towards like a fake truth, mm-hmm. right? Which is what a lot of people are doing, yeah. Right? They want to be a thing. They're going to seek out information that confirms that that's true, mm-hmm. and push away information that disconfirms that. And what we have are a bunch of, fake ass rappers, as they say, right? Yeah. And so I don't know what my authentic self is, but I'm looking for that. And I think I know better today than I did yesterday.
Do you feel like you're honest with yourself?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. And I feel like that is the sort of humble pie that we get to show up in that way. And I think people use that word to describe myself. Mm-hmm. I think it's generally best that other people use words to describe you, because I think people look at me as a person that they've granted authority to. Mm-hmm. They've given me power.
Yeah.
Right? I go into a room and they get to say that I should stand in the front sometimes. Mm-hmm. And they would maybe use the word, hey, you're an authentic person, because when I get up there, I say, hey, I don't know shit, right? I'm trying to figure it out. It's really hard. Here's what I found to be true so far, mm-hmm. right? And that is just closer to the truth than me getting up there and being like, let me tell you what. This is the truth. This is the truth. My God, God damn it. Right? And people know that that's bullshit.
Right.
They can sniff it out, man. And it's very refreshing, I think, for myself and others to be in front of people who maybe have accomplished certain things, and maybe we grant them some sort of power or authority, and they are willing to vulnerably express their own uncertainty, mm-hmm. because that's more truthful than some other thing.
Right.
And so that's all I'm trying to do,
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, rapid fire words.
Oh, shit.
Ready?
So how's it go? You say a word, then I say what that means or something?
I say a word, and question? Just you can... What's that?
Riff on it. Oh, I riff on the word.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
Fear.
Built in our DNA as insight. It's important information. Fear. People get in trouble when they pretend it's not a thing. People get in trouble when they let it debilitate them. It's just information.
Love.
Love is everything. Love is the ultimate trump card. There's no rebuttal to love. None. Mm-hmm. It's undefeated.
I'm only laughing because, yeah. Curiosity.
Curiosity is half of what makes humans brilliant. Okay? So you and I and everyone else is in this juxtaposition where we are alive here today because built into our DNA is a desire to maintain life, seek safety. However, without the other half, which is curiosity, we would be stuck in the cave, so to speak. We would also be dead. So these are two things that work together. And most people are guided by the first thing I said, which is seeking safety. That's built into your DNA. I'm not judging it. That's not a bad thing. I have it. You have it. Everyone has it. But if you don't embrace the other side, this curiosity thing, then you're just as dead as the person who isn't listening to their need for safety. And so curiosity is, going back to that book I told you about, Sapiens, makes a great case that the people who sort of won in sort of like the expansion of empires were the most curious ones. And so the explorers and the countries, so like Europe took world power when their explorers didn't put just soldiers on their boats, but it was soldiers and their scientists, right? And because they were going out not just to conquer for the sake of more real estate, but to the premise of curiosity is that maybe there's something out there that I don't know that could serve me. And that's like a humble perspective.
Sure.
And so curiosity basically became the winner circle bias for who won the world that we now enjoy today. And if you're not curious, you will get the same fate.
Challenge.
Challenge has a negative connotation, but built into what we know about development and the best learning environments is it's a necessary ingredient. By definition, we need to operate at our edges of our capacity to grow our capacity, to sort of like challenge homeostasis. Like, so if we want to grow, that means to not be the same. So we, thank you for clarifying. We need the stimulus of challenge. This is like not my opinion. It's not that I prefer challenge over other things. I think we just know the truth about growth is that it's required. And so feel how you want to feel about that. Go get it or don't. We know what happens when you do. We know what happens when you don't. You know.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Passion. You got 2 more.
Okay.
I'm drilling you right now.
You're drilling me. Passion.
I like the tone change.
That's right. Did I get like so? When it comes to passion, fall asleep.
Oh no.
I immediately go to what we talked about earlier, which is it is to our advantage to put yourself in environments that you can unleash that thing. Like you are in advantage to live inside of passion. It's like a secret weapon, you know? So if you're playing against, not to make everything about competition, but if you're playing, let's make it against yourself. There's you, and then there's passionate you. It's like, which one you picking for anything? Which one you picking for the kickball team? Which one you picking to go into business with? Which one you picking to marry? Which one you picking
to make dinner?
Make dinner. Right? It's a secret weapon. So seek environments where you can unlock that thing. You know, everyone can be passionate about something. But it's just a real bummer, like we saw when you walked into the store. If you're in a place where you cannot access passion, you're taking a knife to a gunfight. Life is hard, yo. Life is hard.
For real.
So help yourself out.
Passion,
please.
I'll take some passion.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know this. You've heard this. Like, I'm not in competition with anybody. It's like except myself. Like. It's you versus you.
Yeah.
Well,
allegedly.
I used to subscribe to that a long time ago.
Yeah.
One of the greatest fucking mental flips that I experienced is when I realized it's not true. Because in observing myself when I train, and really in my life, I'm like, you're not fucking competing with yourself. You're over here fucking supporting yourself, cheering yourself on, believing in yourself, encouraging yourself, like literally in training. You should have seen me sprinting at the end of my run today. Out loud. I'm a fucking crazy, like, go, Roxy.
Yeah.
Come on. You know, and it's like, and so I transcended that, and it's like, it's not you versus you. It's you got you.
Yeah.
You got you. That's it.
That's awesome.
It's so much more powerful.
And that's an asset of yours. You know, thank goodness you are in support of yourself.
Right.
Imagine like having a lot of people live a very opposite reality where it's like the voice inside their head is not their biggest fan. Man,
I know.
it's hard enough.
It's hard.
So
Like, that's what I
Help
always
out.
say. It's already fucking hard
Yeah.
enough. Make it easy on yourself. Like, have it in your back. You
come on,
know?
Roxy, help Roxy out.
Right,
It's
that's what I'm
hard.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Logan needs some help.
Logan. Dude, Logan. Okay, we're gonna wrap out. Do you have any seminars or
Stuff
in
coming up.
LA or where are you?
Where am I?
Where do people
I'm on the internet where the
Yeah.
truth is. Seminars go like this. I'll be in Berlin in December. That's probably not relevant to a lot of us. February, I'm in Sydney, and then Sydney, Australia, Wellington, New Zealand. And then in April, I'm in Los Angeles again.
Rad.
And then we're trying to do New York, but I don't have the dates for that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do people stay connected to you?
It's a good call. So on the internet.
On the internet.
I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Functional Coach, one word. And then the gyms you can find at deucegym.com, DEUCE, gym.com. The education site is just prep.deucegym.com. And that's where Coach's Prep is. That's where there's a free ebook on there that I just challenge anyone who's listening to this. It's called How to Develop World-Class Coaches, and members of law enforcement, CEOs, fitness coaches, non-fitness coaches have all read this, thousands of people at this point, and I challenge you to see if the principles hold up in your discipline. And I talk about coaching in a way through our framework that is general enough for universal application, and I think it's articulated in a way that would help anyone, and it's free. And it kind of looks jazzy.
That's amazing. I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, check it out.
I'm excited.
It's short too. People don't like reading these days, but
I do.
I need y'all to read, please.
Yeah, please read.
Please read.
I know.
We're dying out here.
Oh my god! Thank you so much. Can we
Thank
do this
you.
again?
Yeah, I'm so
This is
down.
like-
This is cool. Yeah.
This was nourishing to my mind, my brain, my heart, everything. I'm so grateful. I feel like I need to feed you.
No, you're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's roll sometime.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu. I know. We didn't even wrap up. We have so much to talk about. We didn't even, actually, let me ask this before I wrap us out. Is there anything that you haven't said that you want to just, do you want to fucking drop something real quick on everyone who's listening right now? It's okay if you don't. If you're thinking about food,
No, I'm
like
okay.
I am. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, here's what I say. You know, it's in line with everything we've talked about, which is seeking your sort of peak expression. Your whole podcast is about this. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of fear. We're all living with this sort of fear thing. We sort of sometimes lie to ourselves and tell us that if I self-sacrifice that, then I won't have to deal with uncertainty and all these other things. Like, newsflash, it's everywhere. So you might as well help yourself out and go for it. Most people will sort of hear that. They'll be compelled emotionally. Their gut is telling them something right now, and they're excited. But still, they will choose not to pursue their peak self. And it's sad. And I'll say this. If not for you, not for yourself, do it for us. Because guess what? We all shared the planet with you. And I know you need less people when you walk into the store to be like, welcome to so-and-so, whatever. I don't need that shit either.
Need it.
Please, right? This is not just about you.
We're in this together.
We are all in this together, and I am thankful for people like you who are vulnerably going out and doing something. I'm trying and screwing it up every day, and we just need that. So if you're not going to do it for yourself, realize, it's not about you. You affect everyone. And I want to live in a place where everybody's going for it. And I think we've all been around maybe not we all. If you're around people that go for it, high-performing individuals, you realize that that's actually the safest place to be, because those people understand real failure, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's something about me that you might see, and there's something about you that I see where, man, we could do anything. We could start a business together and charge, and I'm talking no plan Bs, go for it, and fall flat on our face, and we could high five after that thing and be like, yo, we went for it, right? But that's everybody's worst fear. And when you're around people that are hedging their bets, conceding their goals, self-sacrificing, they're also experiencing failure with no support.
Right.
And so I need you to go for it. And if you're around people that go for it and you're in that environment, you're willing to be vulnerable in that way, there is a beautiful recognition of your efforts, and there's actually a whole community of people that will respect you in success as much as they do in failure, So go out there and do that thing.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
oh my gosh. So good. You guys, I don't have anything to say, and that says everything. Oh my God, this is so good. Okay. All right.
You're if you're still listening.
My feminine energy is just... I know, if you're still here. Love you guys. Thank you. Peace.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode, you guys. If you loved it, please share it on your social. Throw it up on your Instagram stories and tag me. I'm at Black Belt Beauty. I am also at Roxy Look, RoxyLook. I love connecting with you guys. This is a conversation that I want to just continue growing with you guys. So if you feel inspired to hit me up, do so in that space. I always enjoy hearing from you. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so by rating it and reviewing it via iTunes. It's such supportive help, you guys. It really helps the visibility of this podcast. So I appreciate and thank you in advance for doing that. And last but not least, if you are interested in starting your own podcast, or perhaps you already have one and you need help with, editing your audio and the production of it, I cannot recommend my producers enough. Resonate Recordings, you guys, they are the bomb. I rely on them. They are an absolute supportive tool to me and my podcast. So check them out and let them know that Black Belt Beauty sent you. And on that note, you guys, I'm signing off with all my love and always looking forward to catching you on the next.